Join us for the Criterion Institute podcast as Joy Anderson, a global thought leader in business and social change, leads us through a series of discussions, interviews, frameworks, rants, and reframes that will help you better understand how to use finance as a tool for transformative systems change.
I'm Joy Anderson, and this is the Criterion Institute podcast. Today's episode is for anyone trying to do systems change and wondering why strategy feels like you're standing in fog, busy, earnest, running around, but still not sure what's shifting, or even more importantly, how to articulate that to others. I've been thinking about a lens that brings the systems into focus, not a plan, not a checklist, a way of seeing. It starts with what's stuck, the rules, incentives, norms, power dynamics that keep behavior in place. That's the tension. Then it asks a sharper question. Where does the leverage actually live? Who has the power to act differently? So the system itself has to respond. That's the opportunity. And then the absolute hardest part. Why now? What's shifted politically, economically, in terms of norms and narratives that makes this a moment to lean in or a moment to wait? Because here's the thing. Most of us are staring at more than one door at a time. We can see the doorways. We can sense the rooms beyond them. But we don't know when the door is going to open, and the timing isn't ours to command. Systems don't change because an idea is good. They change when people with power decide willingly or under pressure to use it differently. So a lot of real strategy is about staying close, building relationships, listening for signals, and being ready to walk through the door when it actually opens. I'm not actually going to give specific examples today. Think of this as a lens you can carry back through some of the stories on the podcast, moments when, delightfully for us, we've had a few doors opened and we've had a lot slammed in our face. And my role as a leader has been to figure out when is it wisest to shift posture instead of forcing momentum. Because while Criterion is scrappy, we can never create the momentum. We can just step into it. This is a lens into my thinking of a clear way to explain strategy to other people without translating it into a list of activities. Enjoy. I want to share something that feels like a fresh discovery for me. Not because it's entirely new, but because I finally might have some language to describe something that's been true in our work for a long time. It's about strategy, but not strategy as a plan, strategy as seeing where leverage sits, and then waiting, sometimes for a long, long time, for the moment when it's actually possible to act. And I want to be candid about something. I think the thing is, I've been doing strategy math in my head. I was making calls about timing, about where systems were stuck, about where doors might open. And because it felt coherent to me, or in that moment, it might have felt coherent, I assumed it was coherent enough to give others direction. And it wasn't. And to be honest, I'm quite sure that I had never thought it through as carefully as I needed to. Because I couldn't explain it to others, maybe I hadn't actually figured it out, and certainly not figured it out in a way that other people could follow, challenge, and refine with me. So this is becoming an additional layer in how we're thinking about strategy at Criterion moving forward. And we have so many frameworks. I do not need one more framework to introduce into how we describe our work. But this one seems important. And it's a way to make our work more durable, more shared, and more verifiable. So here's the reality I didn't name for a long time. We're almost always holding multiple systems opportunities open at the same time. Not because we're scattered, although I've often described us as experimental to be able to explain why we sounded like we were working on multiple things at the same time. But in systems change, the opportunity and the timing are not the same thing. We can be clear, and we draw all these systems maps. We can be clear that leverage exists, that a certain audience could shift something, and still be in a moment where it's not wise or possible to push. So in my head, I'd be tracking things like this opportunity is real, but the moment isn't open. This one is durable, but the why now isn't strong enough. This one might be opening. Oh, crap, we should be ready. I don't feel ready. But I didn't have a language for that. So it looked like indecision or strategy shift, or like we were chasing the next thing or just following partners. In truth, we were often doing something more deliberate. We were staying near the door. One of the most grounding things I've learned, and it's almost painfully simple, is this: systems don't change without people being willing to change them. Not ideas, not frameworks, not fancy white papers, not good intentions. People. And in the language we've been playing with internally, this is what makes a systems opportunity distinct. A systems opportunity is a durable description of where leverage exists. Which audience has the authority, influence, or decision power to shift system behavior? And this is important. A systems opportunity is not a project, and it's not our plan. It's something that can be true even if Criterion did nothing. Our role very often is that we sit outside the system that holds the lever. We don't control the lever, so we do something else. We build trust. We maintain relationships. We learn how the audience sees risk and legitimacy. We pay attention for a long time. I often describe this as wandering around having a conversation about nothing in particular, because you just have to listen a lot and not always direct the conversation. And it feels like waiting, not passively, but strategically, because a door can exist for years, but it doesn't open every year or every month. So for a long time, I was quietly tracking in my head what is durably true about a system, what keeps it stuck, and what's shifting now, what may make an action possible. And I didn't slow down enough to separate those things. So when somebody asked, why are we emphasizing this now? Why aren't we acting more aggressively here? I might answer, but my answer, depending on the context that lived in my head, signals that I'd picked up in conversations, subtle shifts in language, political changes, a new kind of pressure. And honestly, it ended up sounding to people like if you weren't in the conversation, you wouldn't actually be able to see this at all. To be honest, sometimes I was sensing something real, but I hadn't tested it. I hadn't made it explicit enough for other people to question it, which is actually where you find out whether or not your read is solid. If a strategy lives only in the leader's head, it isn't a strategy. It's intuition with a whole bunch of potentially misplaced authority behind it. This new layer is a commitment to stop doing that. So the thing that's helped me most clear is making a distinction between three layers: the system's tensions, what keeps the system stuck. Systems tension is a norm, a rule, an incentive, a power dynamic. Think about Donella Meadows' bathtub and all of the different leverage points that constrain an audience's behavior. And the key discipline is it's got to be defined in terms of the audience and the system they're embedded in, not in any way in terms of what Criterion's doing or missing or what keeps us from acting. It's about what keeps the audience from acting, not what keeps us from acting. So the second layer is the systems opportunity. This is where the leverage sits. And these systems opportunities are durable because systems are durable. So a systems opportunity names where power sits, which audience could act differently. This opportunity stays stable. The things that people could do are true for a long time, whether or not they do them. So this is where a door metaphor fits for me. The door is a durable opportunity. The leverage point exists. It's real, whether or not we walk through it or not, or whether or not there's actually activity on the other side of the door. So the third question then is, why now? What's changing in the moment? Why now tells us whether this is a moment to push, to learn, to design, to influence, or to wait. This is a crucial bit of clarity from Criterion's internal work. Why now affects priority. It doesn't change what the opportunity is. When why now changes, we don't need to rename the opportunity. We rebalance effort and shift posture. We often have 16 to 20 strategies that are in some stage of on hold to hopefully near the end of getting to done. And that often just feels like a really long list. But the thing is, there's lots of opportunities to create change, and you have to pay attention to them to be able to see the moment where things can change. And so seeing these opportunities as, of course, we see lots of opportunities. We should have a list of 30 or 50 opportunities that we see. It doesn't mean that we prioritize them. It means that we understand the system that we're working in. So that's how we stay coherent without pretending the world is stable. So seeing it this way, waiting, which sounds kind of passive, is not avoidance. It's a strategic posture. The opportunity is durable. The timing is dynamic. So the work is staying close to notice when the moment shifts, building relationships and trust so the door is real when it opens, and preparing strategies and activities so we are actually ready to walk through when we're invited or when the conditions make it possible for us to move through. So just underlining, a systems opportunity is not a tactic. It's not host a convening, publish a brief, run a campaign. Those are activities. And in Criterion's frameworks for how we make decisions and see our work, it's really important that we not confuse activities, which often look like outputs, with the systems opportunities that actually create the change. So this forces a different ordering. Never start with the project. We start with the tension, the opportunity, and the why now. Then we choose approaches, strategies, and activities. All aligned, Criterion has a sort of core set of pillars that guide our work that are directionally where we're headed. But importantly, they're not goals. Our strategic plan that I've talked about a lot on this podcast and we developed about 6 years ago, it could stay true forever. It's an approach to implementing our mission. It's not a goal of what we're going to get done in the next 5 years, because the reality is I never know what we can get done in the next 5 years because I don't know how dynamics are going to change to create openings. Now, that doesn't mean that these openings open and close every 15 minutes. But man, they can change pretty quickly. And so our work at Criterion has been, and I've gotten really clear on this recently, is to be really clear how we do our work, have clear practices, have a set of activities that can be standardized for a team that has many different ways of knowing. And so that we are prepared to walk or run or skip or jog, whatever mode we're doing, when the door opens. So this is what feels like a genuine shift for us. We're going to be more explicit about what systems opportunities we're holding open. Those are the durable systems opportunities. In some ways, they are the possibilities, but that's not the right word, because they're more, possibilities make it kind of, I don't know, it's possible. But these are opportunities. We've analyzed them that they are opportunities. So which systems opportunities we're holding open, what our current why now is or isn't, that's dynamic. And that can change pretty consistently, which means we're moving forward or pulling back away from or towards these systems opportunities. And then third, what posture we're choosing in response. For us, that's what approach are we using? Are we going to influence? Are we going to teach? Are we going to do field building work? Are we going to do design work? What's the approach or the strategy? And then not confusing that approach with the opportunity itself. Opportunities are about the systems in the world, and then there's how we respond. So hopefully this will give us some clear internal language for something we've always done. All of our activities are always relevant, right? We're always writing reports, attending events. The day-to-day stuff that we do as a think tank is actually pretty mundane. What's complicated about our work is how those activities change, how they function inside of an approach to a systems opportunity in a given moment. So instead of treating changes in emphasis as chaos, we can say same opportunity, different moment, different approach. And personally, for me as a leader, it's a commitment to externalize my reasoning earlier, before I'm sure, before I'm polished, so we can be wrong together or get more precise together. I don't think systems change rewards certainty. I think it rewards attention to power, attention to timing, attention to what makes people willing or unwilling to use the power that they have. For me, this system opportunity layer has become a way to practice that. To stand near a door, see the door, but not force it open. To keep relationships alive over time and be ready when the door opens, because systems don't change without people deciding to change them. And that's the role that Criterion often plays. We're egging on people to choose to act, even in the face of extraordinary fear. So, what doors are you standing near? How are you doing the work, relationally, strategically, in your own leadership stance, to be able to walk through when the moment actually comes?
At Criterion Institute, we're committed to demystifying the complex workings of finance so that more people feel emboldened to change them. Our toolkit training and card deck is a unique framework for innovating within financial systems. Think of it as the building blocks of finance, enabling social change leaders to take things apart and experiment with new ways of putting them back together. Over the last decade, we've helped thousands of people do just that and pledged to never again say, "I don't know finance." If you'd like to join them, visit criterioninstitute.org/toolkit.
To learn more about our work, visit us at criterioninstitute.org. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Your reviews help our podcast reach a wider audience. Thanks for listening.